Hey guys! So this is part of module 1. I want to explain a little bit about EFT, how it works, so as when you are going through these modules you can refer back to it if you need to and really use this as your little intro. So EFT or tapping is emotional freedom technique, and I discovered this a long time ago now, and it has truly made such a massive impact for myself personally, for my clients, in my business. It just blows my mind. While it's not the only tool I use, I actually probably use neuro-linguistic programming, which is NLP, a little bit more. I do use a sort of combo, especially in my one-on-one coaching. But in this setting and in the group setting, EFT is going to be a really important tool for you to use and utilize throughout this whole program, but also in the rest of your life, and a skill that you will be able to take with you forever. I truly believe everyone should know how to do this, and if something is going on and you've tried everything, physical, emotional, or otherwise, EFT will probably help. So what does it do and how does it work? So it's really useful for physical pain, emotional pain, fear, trauma, cravings, emotional eating. It's even useful for anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. You name it, EFT can probably help. It is a little bit woo-woo, I will give you that, but it's also backed by some really serious scientific research. So it is a proven method. It's not something where you're making up or getting excited about. So definitely it does work. They did studies on Vietnam vets with post-traumatic stress disorder, and EFT or tapping was found to be more effective than psychotherapy or medication. So it really works at a really deep unconscious underlying level, and allows us to clear out all of the limiting beliefs and negative patterns that cause a lot of our reality, and for clearing out money blocks is going to be absolutely key in the process of doing that. So it works with our body's natural meridian lines, and we are literally tapping on our acupressure points. Our meridian lines, I don't know if you've ever been for a massage, and it's usually when I go to a sort of Thai place or Chinese place, they have a map of the body, and they have all the lines running down the body. They're your meridian lines. They cross over on the top of our heads, they run all the way up and down our arms, they run all the way down to the tips of our toes. So our meridian lines are where we carry our chi, our energy runs up and down them. But it's thought that traumas, emotional events, causes blocks in our chi or our energy, and causes this emotional response. So what we're doing by tapping on the acupressure points is actually releasing that negative energy or block in our chi, as we think of past or have an emotion or a feeling, and specifically going into past events. If you believe or have tried EFT in the past and it hasn't worked for you, it's probably because you didn't get specific enough. So EFT, imagine this is the core of an onion, okay? And layer and layer and layer on top of it is all of the stuff and beliefs and events of your life. So what we're trying to do, EFT is going to take some of the layers off this onion and really expose the core of it. So the core was usually an original event that happened in childhood, usually before you were 7 years old. It might have even been in the womb or a past life, depending on your beliefs around that. But an event happened really early on in your life, because all of your values and beliefs are created by the time you're 7 years old. It's pretty scary, right? Most people don't change their values and beliefs after they're 7 years old, and most of their life is run often by a scared 3-year-old, or that 7-year-old little girl or boy that was made fun of in the playground, or something happened. It might have been something traumatic, but it often wasn't something traumatic. Or perceived to be at the time. And so I always say I had a really happy childhood, wonderful, loving parents, but I still managed to come out pretty messed up with a whole bunch of interesting, unuseful beliefs about myself, about money, and almost everything else. So so it's kind of interesting, and sometimes when we have had an upbringing like that that's in theory happy, we feel like we don't have permission to have problems. And I certainly wouldn't have checked myself in for counselling or therapy. I thought I had it pretty together. I had a fantastic career. I always, travelled and lived abroad exactly where I wanted, and pretty much did exactly what I wanted in my past life, my corporate life. A few things were missing. Relationship, my weight. I struggled with my weight, but I never really understood it. And I definitely didn't think it was my fault, right? I thought it was everybody else. There were no good guys, or all this, or all that. But I hadn't looked at myself. And when you start a business, I'm sure you've heard this before, it is the biggest journey in personal development you will ever go through, without a shadow of a doubt. So I had all this stuff that I suddenly had to deal with, and I was like, oh my goodness, where is this stuff coming from? And I did need to go and see energy healers and kinesiologists and coaches and get a mentor and just try and figure this stuff out, because I didn't realize how closely linked the energy in our business was to our personal energy. So that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to align our energy. We're trying to increase our vibration. Amazing things. So you attract things that are on the same vibration as you. So if you're running at a higher vibration, you're going to naturally attract more money, more happiness, more wealth, more love into your life. But if unfortunately you're running with all these negative limiting beliefs that are sort of undermining you and not and really holding you back from achieving those big beautiful goals that you have, it's going to become much harder. So you've probably heard me explain it. You might have heard me explain this stuff before, but I really do think it's going to really be one of the foundational pieces that runs through this entire course. This is not, we are doing this in module 1, but it will be a theme through the whole course. I am possibly further ahead than you in my business. I've been doing this longer. I still have to do this work. It is something I have to work on daily, and if I don't, I know I don't. Like I can feel it that I haven't done the work. So definitely give it the respect it deserves. When I was an accountant, I thought from here up, I didn't think the rest of my body really was part of the show, and a lot of the time I was just like, let it do its thing, and didn't really give it any respect or any time. So we're trying to integrate this throughout our entire body. It's this stuff, these emotions, they're in there's more and more research that it proves that it's throughout all of our cells. So this stuff comes down to a really deep cellular level. So as we let this stuff go, we're actually changing your DNA and your genes. That is how deep this stuff goes at a subconscious level. We are changing your neural pathways, and then we are building them back up and creating stronger myelin sheaths on top of the new neural pathways to strengthen them. This stuff, is creating long-lasting change for you. I want this 6-month program to be amazing, but I also want you to go and leave it changed for life in a really positive, beautiful way. So we're going to have lots of, pieces like this throughout the program, so as you really can move forward without anything holding you back. I'm really, really passionate about this stuff. So a couple of stories about EFT and me, so as you can understand how it's affected me in my life and also in my business. I always might be a bit of an oversharer, but when I first discovered EFT, I was in a room when I did my level 1 and 2. You know, the guy, I mean, gosh, I stopped eating chocolate for 9 months. That's like my trigger. I know if I have emotional stuff going on because I'm eating chocolate, and I'm like, I need to go and deal with something. So it can really help with things like that. But I also really healed my back pain. Physical pain is 70% emotional, and when I'd had my back injury, I had seen every specialist, chiro, physio, you name it, and healed the 30% that was actually physical. What I hadn't healed was the emotional component of that injury. And when I used the EFT specifically for my back pain, I've pretty much not had an issue since. I still get a little bit stiff sometimes, but it's usually the physical stuff because I've sat too long, or I haven't stretched, or I haven't gone to yoga, and I'll get my back will stiffen up a little bit. But the emotional stuff, the pain that was still there, even though, you know, the physio was like, you're all right, you know, I can't really find anything. I'm like, it still hurts. And he's like, okay, I'll stick a few more needles in, whatever. So it really helped me with that physical pain. And when I realized that, and then my mentor asked me, he's like, what's your biggest problem right now? And I'm like, I cannot get under this certain weight. I can't even remember what I said. I think it was 80 kilos or something. I said, I cannot get, and he's like, that's your biggest problem? I'm like, that is the biggest problem I have my entire life. And right, I probably would be quite happy at 80 kilos right now. But anyway, and he said, well, why, like, what do you gain from it? And I was like, nothing. I gain nothing from this weight. I gain absolutely nothing. And he's like, what do you gain? What do you gain? He kept asking me, and I was like, nothing. And thinking, this guy is crazy. How does he think I'm gaining something from feeling fat? But eventually I said, oh, it gives me an excuse. Oh, an excuse for what? He said. And I said, oh, well, an excuse for being alone. And he said, okay. And if you lost the weight, what might happen? And I said, well, I guess I'd meet somebody. I might meet somebody. And he said, and then what might happen? And I said, they might leave me. And he said, like that last time. And when he just said that, that was me gone. I was an absolute emotional wreck, bawled my eyes out. And although I'd never had any, you know, major romantic issues or, you know, been let down by any guys like that, my brother left when I was 16, and I saw him once when I was 18, and I haven't seen him since. So I've probably not really seen him for longer than, yeah, like more than half my life. So really a big deal. And he just said, well, how could you trust another man to stay in your life if you can't trust your own brother who you loved? And I thought he was some sort of rock star. So as a way to protect myself from the perceived pain of being left and being, you know, left by somebody I loved again, I was protecting myself by, you know, using my weight as a sort of security blanket. So as I would push men away by feeling unattractive, by maybe not being as attractive with this extra weight, but also it's because it made me feel so crap that I wasn't going to be attracting anybody. And I'd notice I'd lose the weight, I would gain lots of confidence, I'd get more attention, and then my weight would go straight back up again. I could never just keep it down. It was always this huge roller coaster. Because every time I'd get to a point and I'd feel comfortable, but I didn't feel safe. It didn't feel safe to lose weight, and it'd go back up again. So that was part of my journey and my thing. But when I realized this, later on when I was working with clients and I'd moved away from health coaching, that's what I originally did, and I wasn't doing so much emotional eating work with people, I had this big realization that ding ding ding, the way we do one thing is the way we do all things. And the reason people emotionally eat or have other destructive behaviors, it's not just people who emotionally eat, is the same reasons they don't make any money. It was like this little light bulb that went off, and I thought, wow, if I can help people with emotional eating, using this EFT thing, maybe, just maybe, I could help people make more money too. Because this is when I talk about the financial comfort zone, it's exactly the same thing as my weight. People start making more money, but then they hit this upper threshold of not, instead of the weight loss thing, they hit this upper threshold of not feeling comfortable, and they come straight back down again. And then they have a lower threshold where they feel uncomfortable, and it comes back up again. So the same thing was happening with money. People are living within this comfort threshold. I had the same thing with my weight. I would get to a point where I was like, Joe, you really need to do something about this. And I wouldn't let myself get up above a certain point. Unfortunately, that one time was like a size 22. But my lower, I got down to 12, and I was like, oh, no. I'm not comfortable here. So that was UK sizes. If you want to translate for the US, probably top was an 18 and bottom was an 8. I think that's like a 4. So that's roughly where my weight like stabilized, but also with finances, right? So if you break through the top of this financial comfort zone, imagine it's a screen, and you start making money up here, this is way out of your comfort zone, and so you'll find expenses and ways to sabotage yourself to get you back down into this comfort zone. So what we're going to do throughout this course, and especially in this first module, is increase this comfort zone up the way, so as you feel more and more comfortable earning more money. Okay, and we're going to do that with a combination of different things, the modules, tapping, the calls, all of this stuff. We'll really try and get to the bottom of some of this stuff for you and clear it, so as when you move on and start learning all this stuff, it all comes to you much more easily. So I just want to show you what the tapping points are briefly. So if you do need to know what they are, they're at 17:10. We're going to start. I'm going to show you them just quite quickly, and then I will we'll do some other videos as well. All right. So the first one we're going to do is top of your head. Like I mentioned earlier, all of the meridian lines cross on the top of your head. So one of the first points is right on the top of your head. The next point is roughly where your eyebrow meets the top of your nose. And I usually do this one with 2 fingers. Oh, you can see my wrinkles when you're that close. Nice. The next one is the side of your face, not in your eye, no black eyes, just on the side of your face. And under your eye, again, not in your eye socket, just under your eye. Under your nose. Then that bit between your lip and your chin. Okay, and then the next bit is on your collarbone, so roughly where it turns down here a little bit, looking about like half an inch below there, and I usually use 2 hands on this point. You'll know when you hit this one, it's usually one of the best ones. It is for me and for a lot of my clients, like, oh, that was it. So the points, different points resonate for different emotions and feelings, but because we might not know during your story or your thing which one is going to be the point, that's why we run through them in sequence, and in theory we'll hit the right one at some point and clear the emotion. So I just like doing that. It's quite nice. Alright, so the next one is, which I don't use very often, especially in videos because it's a bit awkward and I've got boobs. It would be like your nipple line and then straight down, so where your underwire is, like there. Sorry for boob shot. So that's another point, is under there. And there's one under your arm. I call this a monkey move. Some people do it like that. Again, it's just far too awkward, especially if we're doing rounds and rounds of it. So you can use it if you choose, if you're, agile or not. There are other methods where we can hit the same meridian lines without having to do that. So I like those ones. So one I use is on the inside of your wrist, roughly where your watch strap would be. You might find some people, they do that, so you get both, but also either side doesn't matter. 1 hand, 2 hands. Quite often I use 2 where I can and one one where I can, or if one hand gets tired, whatever. So watch strap. Then the next ones, I'm gonna get close just so I got a manicure for this, right? So the top of your thumb, if you have it pointing up, the top of your thumb, the top of your index finger, the top of your middle finger, then we're skipping your ring finger, and doing the top of your pinky. Your pinky actually has 2 points, you can even squeeze it. The reason we're missing our ring finger is because its point is actually on the underneath, and it's easier mentally to skip it on the way through than it is to think about going on the underneath. So just we skip it when we're tapping through, but we do catch it because the next point is called your 9 gamut point, and it's on the back of your hand. So it catches the 3 meridian lines that come down the back of your hand. The first one, it's between this 4th and 5th bone on the back of your hand and about 1 centimetre down from your knuckle. So it's a kind of a meaty bit, and again, you'll probably know if you hit it. Sometimes I kind of feel it zinging or something, but I find this one again very, very powerful, and that's probably because it's got these three meridian lines. So really, really powerful point on the back of your hand. This other one I'm going to show you is called the karate chop point, because, can you imagine? So yeah, I broke a bit of wood in half at a Tony Robbins event this year using my karate chop point. It's pretty cool. So this karate chop point, I usually use the 4 fingers from my opposite hand to tap on it. Either hand is fine, and you might see some people doing it like that. So both is fine, and we always use this point for our set up phrase. So that is this piece at the beginning that we always repeat 3 times. And you don't have to remember all of this, it will be all explained in your EFT tracker sheets that you'll find to be able to be downloaded. We always say the setup statement 3 times. It's to focus us in on the issue and to remind us what the problem is. So the first part of it is to acknowledge the problem, and the second part of it drops all judgment of the problem, because a lot of the time, half of it, we judge ourselves for having these issues, having the problems, and we drop that in the second part of the statement. So that's how it works. So the first part would be, even though I have this problem, and you can, for problem, insert anything you like. Even though I have this back pain, even though I have this chocolate craving, even though I'm not making this money, even though I feel this shame, even though almost anything. So that's your first part, even though, and it always starts with even though. Even though I have this problem. The second part, I deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. That's the dropping the judgment. So we put that together. So even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely love and accept myself anyway. Even though I have this problem, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. Or sometimes you can say forgive myself anyway. So if you have any problems saying those words, the I deeply and completely love and accept myself or forgive myself, I've met people who cannot say that they love themselves out loud. I've met people who cannot accept themselves or the way they are now out loud. So for those lovely peeps, or some people struggle to forgive themselves, but all of that is possible through tapping. So if that is you for any reason, I encourage you to pop in the word try. So even though I will try to love myself, even though I will try to accept myself, and often by the end of a couple of rounds of tapping, working with somebody, I drop the word try, and it's somehow they can do it. So it's really, really powerful to do this stuff. So that is a very, and just as you do your setup statement 3 times, and then as you go around, we do reminder phrases, they're called, on all of the points. These points, we then focus back in on the problem. So even though I have this problem, even though I have this feeling associated with the problem, and the problem makes me feel like this, and I judge myself for having this problem, You know, we're constantly going back and reminding ourselves. Now, this is again more effective if there's lots and lots of different methods as a practitioner that we can use to get deeper into this, but I'm going to keep this fairly basic for this video anyway. And we just want to focus in on the issue, on the details of the issue. You can keep it as general as you like, but getting more and more specific is definitely helpful. For instance, that would mean, you know, I have this craving, this chocolate makes me feel like this. That's the sort of surface. That's maybe taking away a little bit, but what we'd probably end up doing is going and thinking about the childhood stuff, why you felt these issues coming up in the first place. So as you are tapping, I want you to notice feelings in your body. I want you to notice old emotions, new words that come up, old memories that flash up. All of them are really key to be aware of while you are tapping. They are literally the key to the direction you need to take your tapping, and definitely key in this whole process. I do know I used to think I had to tap with someone, and it is much easier to tap with someone else out loud along with them. And because they can often question you and bring out things that you didn't even know you had to tap on, especially if they're good at what they do. So do give it a shot yourself, follow the scripts, and let me know how you're getting on. But we'll do a few specific ones later on as well.